Hello, boys and girls. This is Aunt Fernita. Today's story is called Forgotten Dream. The memory verse is from Daniel chapter 2, verse 23. It says, "God, you have given me wisdom and power." The message is, I serve God when I help people in need. Have you ever awakened in the morning knowing that you had a dream, but were unable to remember it? Or maybe you could remember it, but it seemed very silly. King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that he could not remember. It happened like this. God blessed Daniel and his friends. He gave them wisdom to understand the hardest assignments. The king himself tested them at the end of their 3 years of training. He was pleased. They were 10 times better in everything than all the wise men in the kingdom. King Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians worshipped idols. They made idols of wood and stone, and they believed that their dreams were messages from their idols. One night, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. When he awoke the next morning, he was very disturbed. He knew he had dreamed about something important, but he was even more upset because he could not remember the dream. The king called his wisest advisors and interpreters before him. "I had a dream last night," he said. "Tell me what it means." "But we don't know what you dreamed," they replied. "Tell us your dream, then we can tell you what it means. Otherwise, how could we interpret it?" The king became very angry. "If you were really the wisest men in Babylon, you would know what I dreamed," he said. Twice the wise men asked about the dream, but the king could not remember. He became so angry that he ordered that all the wise men in the empire were to be killed. Daniel and his friends were not among the men who had been called before the king, but they were among those who would be killed. When they heard about it, Daniel talked to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard. Daniel asked Arioch to explain what was wrong. Then Daniel went before the king. He asked Nebuchadnezzar for time to discover the dream and what it meant. Daniel and his friends spent that night in prayer. As they prayed, God gave Daniel a vision. He showed Daniel the king's dream and told Daniel the meaning. The next morning, Daniel hurried to Nebuchadnezzar's palace. He told the king exactly what he had seen. A huge statue with a head of gold, a chest of silver, thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of iron mixed with clay. A rock from heaven fell and crushed the feet. The whole statue fell over and was destroyed. Then Daniel explained the meaning to Nebuchadnezzar. The dream had predicted the future. King Nebuchadnezzar was a strong king, but someday his kingdom would fall from power. The king of another country would take over. Later, still another kingdom would take over. Each kingdom that came into power would be weaker. Finally, God would set up his kingdom, a kingdom that would never end. None of the idol-worshipping advisors had been able to tell the king his dream. Only Daniel's God could do that. "Your God is the true God," Nebuchadnezzar told Daniel. Finally, the king made Daniel governor over Babylon. In this position, Daniel could help others know about the God of heaven. Of all the wise men of Babylon, only Daniel and his friends had asked God for help. God heard them, and he told them everything they needed to know. God will hear you too. When you need answers to difficult questions, He is always ready to help you.
This podcast is read by Franita Buddy for Gracelink.net. Created and produced by Falvo Fowler. Post-produced by Faith Toe at Studio El Piso. The theme music is by Clayton Kinney. Animation and artwork by Giogo Godoy. The audio engineer was Karel Holness. For more information, please visit Gracelink.net.